thank you so much for being alive after your book launch for this.
Oh, thanks. It was not the kind of launch that you wouldn't be alive after whatever the correct grammar of that sentence is. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
it
yeah.
was
Well,
chill. It was chill.
was the reception quite good as well?
Yeah, it was really nice. I mean, it's funny because when you release something, so much of it is about the online aspect of it and kind of like pushing it and how many people repost it and then how much you sell. But I need to like celebrate something in person for it to feel real or to get the right like vibes or something out into the universe.
For sure.
Um, Especially when you're making a physical object. But then in the end, it's also like, okay, well, you have to take pictures and then those have to be online. Or I don't know if they have to be, but it seems like that's the game nowadays.
So, would you ever take the book on tour to get it to people like me who wanted to be there but couldn't get there?
No, because that would just cost too much money. It's self-funded.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'm starting a little book imprint with this book. It's like the kickoff. And if someone like you wanted to get it, you would have to unfortunately just order it, online. But it ships everywhere. I mean, I'm coming up against some. I'm also, yeah, like my own self-distribution center in the States, and then my friend is shipping out of Canada for me. But some countries, like I get really anxious about like the customs and like the import.
Mm, yeah.
Like certain countries, you need like a tax ID number and all this stuff. So I'm like messaging people like, "Do you have a tax ID number?" And it's a whole world, but it's not that interesting to talk about on
No,
your
I mean,
show.
it is actually. I mean, bands already struggle, at least from here, definitely struggle to tour. So I can't imagine how hard it would be for a book to tour as well.
Well, I mean, my friend Emil is about to publish my friend Emil Niasi, she wrote a book a memoir, and she's like going on tour with that. And that's like I think that still happens, like when it's like a publisher of a book that people read, and then it's like the author does a signing and a reading, at different, it's I think that's cool, and that's like keeping bookstores alive and keeping publishing alive in a
For
way.
sure. I mean, I'm not too sure. I haven't been to LA in probably 10 years. But
Mm.
from memory, like there were some really cool like independent bookshops there. Australia has a pretty good book scene for the most
Mm,
part, especially in Melbourne, where I'm from. So I
I
could
bet.
totally see you doing talks here.
Oh, thanks.
We used to have a thing called the Wheeler Center, which was like a place where a lot of artists and writers like Helen Garner, who did Monkey Grip, if you've ever heard of that, which is like an Australian, it's
Mm.
basically like an Australian independent book about our scene and Fitzroy
Oh, cool.
in the 70s and 80s, which is really cool. But we
Cool.
used to have talks, but I think they've cut funding for all that stuff here. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it would be cool to I think the thing is like if I was invited anywhere I would do it. But if it
mm,
was like I have to invite myself, then it's like you don't want to feel like it feels too narcissistic to like plan your own book tour or something, you know?
you got to do what you got to
But
do.
yeah, it's true, but it's not my main it's like my side hustle. It's like
Mm,
my something I'm doing for the love of it. So, but we'll see. We'll see how it evolves. Like this is, I think, just the beginning of this thing that I want to do and create more of like art books and zines and objects and stuff. So certainly like I used to have a magazine and we would participate in like the art book fairs, and that's a cool way to sort of like hit a huge audience of people who are inherently already interested in what you do, and also be a part of a community. So it's not just like you going somewhere. It's like, okay, this is like a whole weekend, and you have a table and there's other people like you, and you all kind of like cross pollinate, and
yeah.
that kind of thing I'm into. So I don't know you guys have like art book fairs and zine fairs over there, that would
Our
be cool.
zine culture isn't super duper strong, though we do have it in the city. I know actually from going to Vancouver, the zine culture there was so strong. Like I would go to libraries and even in Toronto and they would have zines there. That doesn't really happen here.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Interesting.
but funnily enough, I feel like given how much Japan, from what I've seen, I know
Yeah.
there's that Japanese song about Death from Above, but I feel like between their love for DFA and their love for art books, because art books over there are more commercial and mainstream, I feel like the two
Yeah.
would go hand in hand. You got to go to Japan.
Yeah. I'd gladly go to Japan any damn time.
What made you put these photos? Like, how long have you had them for? Like, have they been released before?
No, so these are photos I took when I was like started when I was a teenager. They're 2001 to 2004-ish. And I used to take photos of bands in Toronto, GTA, like in that area, and mostly the suburbs. And I became friends with the guys in the band, Jesse and Seth. First, I became friends with Jesse, and yeah, I was just like I always had a camera, and I was just taking photos all the time. And then he started this band with Seb, and then I was hanging out with them and their girlfriends and like this like group of people. And then eventually they asked me to come on tour with them. And that was sort of like the first, I'd say that was really special for me. Yeah, that was the first time I felt like someone was acknowledging that I was good at anything like that.
Mm,
Like from the outside, that wasn't like I was still in high school. So it was like I think when you're a teenager, or I don't know, when you're just like a young person figuring yourself out, to get any form of like a vote of confidence from someone was like huge for me. So I went on tour with them, took some photos, and I remember after we came back, I got the pictures back. I also worked at a photo finishing place, so every like it cost them $0.
mm,
Like, I think just I was like a cheap ad to their tour, but everything was like so DIY. And so like I got all the like film and printing done, and then I was so disappointed at the photos. Like what they were in my head was different from what they ended up as, and I thought I really failed. And they ended up using the photos on their EP, so some of the photos in there have been published in their records,
mm.
maybe like 4 or 5 of them. Um, and but then everything else was just like didn't see the light of day. Like I used to have I don't know, live journal. Maybe I had a website, that was like had my photos up there, but nothing. It was never like actually published in any way. Vice magazine published a photo in like the photo issue at some point, but these negatives were just like in a box for over 20 years. So it wasn't until I was back in Canada cleaning out my mom's basement because we bought a house in the country, and I was like transferring my stuff over to there. And like I finally had like an office space and a space to just like my
Mm.
own little studio basically. And it was winter. It was January. There was like 6 feet of snow. The roads were closed. And it was just like, all right, well, time to like look in these boxes and like see what's up. And I thought, you know what, I really missed publishing from when I used to have a magazine. I really missed having because I work in film, and I have like some projects that are 8 years in, I
Mm.
have a project that's 8 years in, a one that's 3 years in, one that's 5 years in, and then you do commercials and little music videos and stuff, but I really craved this like making something that was like a project that just finishes and like then it's out there and it's like a physical object and you share it with people and you pour over the details just like in any other like just like I do in my other work. But I thought I would just make it like lower stakes. I thought I would just make a zine of some of these photos, or maybe make a series of them or something. But as I started scanning and looking at it, and looking at other artists' books I really admired, and other photo books I really loved, I was like, maybe it's time I just like took this seriously and gave it the sort of energy that I think it deserves, because, in my mind, it was this like, maybe it's easy to not take yourself as seriously. Even like, it's almost like I wasn't taking the teenage version of myself seriously.
Mm.
Um, and, I think teenagers are often not taken seriously, but even I don't know, like, I, I think I also needed the 20 plus years of maturity to see the images objectively and the edit of the images. Cause I think I scanned like 500 pictures and there's 120 in here. And there's a lot more that I went through that I didn't scan, but certainly the ones that I put together and the sort of the layout and the story that I think it tells is my view on that time from my brain today.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a historic document. I mean, to a lot of my mates and my bass player, like DFA is his favorite band. The idea that, you were sitting on this box that you just happened to stumble upon 20 years
Oh,
later. I
thanks.
was honestly wondering because we do photo shoots for like my projects and stuff here. And as soon as we get a good photo, usually you take 30, you get, two or three really good ones. And I have
Yeah.
trouble sitting on those for a week. So I was like,
Yeah.
I was wondering, I was like in the back of your head, did you know that there was gold here? And you just kind of
Oh.
like, yeah. Cause that's, yeah, I think that's pretty awesome. Like the synergy, right? Of being able to find that box. Like it found you. You didn't even go out looking for it.
I mean, I'm so flattered that you would even phrase it that way. Like in my mind, it's I don't I it's really hard to convince yourself that someone else will care. I don't know. Like
I agree. I agree. No matter,
I,
actually, no
yeah.
matter what stage you're in your career, you still have that sense of imposter syndrome going on. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah, I just didn't know if, well, I knew that, okay, I knew like, okay, definitely there's the fans of DFA will care about this because it's really cute photos of these guys who are, now old, like, respectfully, I'm married to one of them, great looking guy. And he's, very, still looks very young, but they're like babies in these photos. And that is very nostalgic and cute to me. And there's something, I think I made the book because of that thing that I can't quite, articulate. I have to say, like, I can't relate to the term imposter syndrome so much. I don't think I'm an imposter. I do have this like confidence that's not logical. I
Yeah,
don't I will put out a project even if I think people might hate it. But oh, hang on, there was a crazy guy who yelled at us on the street earlier, and
super fan.
he's outside. No, he's
He
outside.
just wants a book.
No, he's picking flowers. No, he was like screaming at us, and I thought he was going to charge us. So I'm just lowering my blinds. Sorry. Okay,
Crazier
he's
things have happened on the podcast, so it's all
yeah,
good.
yeah. Sorry, I just didn't want him to see where I actually live. Um, okay. But yeah, so I was like, okay, well, I'll do this thing, and maybe it'll fail, but I just need to get this. Like, I need to harvest this box and do this thing for myself, and it's my own money, so it doesn't matter. Like I was actually saving up money to make a short film, but it was just like the thing I wanted to make. It just wasn't happening for the amount of money I had, and it was like, well, why don't I just put this money into this other thing that I should do?
Yeah.
So it's almost like, I don't know, it's more like a feeling of this, maybe no one will actually find this interesting, and I'll fail and it'll be an embarrassment, but I'll move on from that. That's more of the vibe for me.
Mm. That's a good way to look at it actually. I also yeah, maybe I've been using the term imposter syndrome incorrectly too for a while. Because I also recognize like my own talent, but there are a lot of pressures, from the world that kind of make you doubt it. But that doesn't mean that you don't believe in yourself.
Look,
It just means that
imposter syndrome should be used for like doctors, okay? Like you
honestly,
can't
yeah,
be an
there's so many
artist,
imposter
you can't
doctors
be
out
an
there.
artist and be an imposter. Like there's no such thing. To me, yeah, it's like literally there's a fireman who's never been to fireman school and he's trying to save my house. That's an imposter.
You're so
But
right. Like, yeah, how can you fail at trying to be yourself? Doesn't make sense.
you
Like, it's
can't.
the attempt is what matters. Like,
I had a fortune cookie about that recently. So
and
yeah, exactly.
I've yet to see the book itself, but I've seen through the stories like some of the photos and obviously like
Oh,
the
I'll send you one.
yeah, please, that would be amazing. I will literally
Send
frame
me
it.
your
I will
address.
frame the
Yeah.
book. I'll be the
No,
first
don't
person
frame
to
it.
frame a book.
No, fuck that. You have to. No, you're not allowed
but
to frame
but
it.
also like I mean, obviously you've known and you're married to Seb, and like you're I guess it's a very close part of your world. It is your world. But like for an outsider, like if you didn't already know, like DFA is pretty much the reason that my band even exists. Do you know what I
Um,
mean? And my bass player, his entire like bass pedal rig and stuff is all because of them. And there's photos of that band, and also I would go beyond photos, like video documentation, and I watched your documentary as well, that I really think are genuinely like important, again, historic pieces. It reminds me of historic documentation, of something that's actually really crucial, especially now in such a fake time to have these things that didn't
Thanks.
happen so long ago available to us. And I always think of the Fugazi photo of the lead singer hanging upside down from the basketball hoop. That's become
Yeah.
like a symbol of resistance. I don't know if you can see it through here, but I have a poster that our photographer took of one of our shows, and it's our friend
Oh my
crowd
God.
surfing on a surfboard here.
Oh, that's so cool.
To me, like that
Love
was the
that.
closest that we got, in our scene, and we have trouble contextualizing where we fit in to everything, not just where we fit in here in Australia, in Melbourne, because I'm Argentinian, where I fit in to the world and to my own culture and to the cultures that came before us. So I think what you're doing is like really, really, really important. So anyway,
Wow.
that's not a question. That's just something I want to say.
Thank you.
Um,
Appreciate it.
but do you feel that there's other photos from different eras of the band that you might stumble upon, like a box that, might be behind you right now that has the next book in it?
Oh my God, that's so funny. Someone asked me that at the Q&A yesterday. I was like, "Pff, what are you talking about? What? Like, that's crazy. Um, but I don't have yes, I mean the when I was organizing the DFA photos, it's like they're kind of different boxes. There's like this is like these photos are mostly the pre and during the like how do I say? It's like pre first EP and then like pre
Mm.
first LP. So that's like what this book is. And it doesn't even go that far back because I decided to cut it off at a certain haircut for both guys. Like when I first started
Oh, true.
shooting Jesse, when I first started shooting Jesse, he had really short like Vulcan hair and no facial hair. And then him and Seb like grew their hair long and then they were in sync. And then after the first album came out, Seb like cut his hair into a mohawk. And then, but I was like, I didn't want different haircuts because I wanted it to look like one continuous string of time.
Mm.
So I would almost like it's almost like I would separate the books into like hairstyles of the guys in some way. It's like Seb had a different haircut for that's just how I organize it in my head. At Seb's
Yeah,
haircut
yeah, yeah.
tells my mind which album it was. Because then Jesse is pretty much the same the whole time. I don't know if I have as much. I would say if I did other ones, they might not be as extensive. Maybe those. Since you've asked me, I'd consider it. Like I would consider it for sure.
Mm.
Maybe there needs to be a little more time in between. Because it's like after this album came out, the You're a Woman, I'm a Machine. then like Seb and I, then there just became like less and less Jesse photos. It was like I would just take pictures when we would like hang out together, but it was more like it more just became me and
Mm.
Seb because then we were together eventually. And then we were like enemies with Jesse because they broke up and he went to like he was on the east side of
Yeah.
Toronto, west side of Toronto. And that was like 6 years. And then I obviously documented them coming together again. I mean, and then it's kind of like I don't know if I have boxes of the newer albums. It's more like maybe envelopes or a Ziploc of like 10 rolls or something. But I'll keep it in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of that timeline that you, well, actually, before I get into that, the facial hair thing is a really interesting one. As a guy who has changed his facial hair a lot and his hair, I don't change it drastically.
Mm.
But I couldn't help but I was watching your documentary this morning and I couldn't help but notice that, yeah, the long hair without the mustache. And it's a funny look because it comes off as like, I mean, he can obviously grow a beard, you know, he has
Mhm.
in most of it, but to see somebody do that, like, it's such a statement to not to refuse facial hair while having long hair. It's a cool like androgynous kind of look going on.
Yeah, you mean Sebastian, right?
Yeah. But
Yeah,
actually
because
I think both of them at a certain point had no facial hair and long hair.
yes, it was, but then they both like grew facial hair at the same time. I remember there
That's
was
awesome.
something there's like some story that Seb can tell you, but it's like something like they were hanging out constantly, they lived together, and then they spent 2 weeks apart, and then when they came back, they had both grown mustaches. It was
That's
like
yeah, I mean that's like rapport, right? Like when you start
it's like
to
an
mirror
in
the other
sync thing.
person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like
Yeah,
what something twins would do or something. And then they kind of both kept it until now. They're both just like mustache guys now.
true.
Um, Seb, shaved his mustache a couple times, maybe here and there, but not for long. And I don't know if Jesse's ever taken his mustache off.
In terms of that timeline again, so you shot the them coming back together for the documentary, Life After
Yeah,
Death from Above.
yeah,
That was released in 2014,
yes.
I think. And the so Our Age Is Now, was that the album after the documentary or before? I'm trying to think. Because
Was
I
I
feel
think
like that was 2019 actually, wasn't it?
they made the
Yeah.
Physical World, I think, was their third album, or their like, sorry,
Yeah.
not third, but their post breakup was Physical World, and then Outrage Is Now, right? And then
Yeah,
Is
I
It
think
Lovers?
Outrageous
Was
now
that
was. I mean, yeah, both of the last albums they've done are just incredible. But Outrageous now was like the one I spun pretty much non-stop to the point where it stopped working.
wow,
The CD
cool.
no longer works in my car. But you directed a bunch of videos for that, didn't you? You did Virgins,
Yeah, I did
and
that. Yeah.
I'm trying
Is
to
Outrage Is
remember,
Now? Is that Physical World? No,
or
I
maybe
don't
it
know.
is. I don't know. But that era in general, the Virgins video is fantastic. And I was just curious, where was the inspiration? I guess I mean, to summarize it for people who haven't seen it, it's like Mormons discovering alternative rock and breaking free.
Yeah, it's well, it was based on this real thing that happens in okay, well, I took the inspiration from the song. The song is called Virgins. Where have all the virgins gone? I was like, who's the most like virginal people, on the planet? And I thought maybe the Amish might be up there. And there's this thing called Rumspringa that Amish do. I don't know if it's every sect of Amish. I don't know if it's not Mormon. Mormons are like the Utah people, but Mennonites, I think you're thinking of Mennonites and Amish.
Mennonites.
Again, it's like I'm not gonna get railed by them because they don't have internet, but they hear me saying things but um basically this thing that is like an Amish thing is that when they come of age, so when they turn like 16 or 17, because they're an insular community, they let their teenagers like have a night of like trying, or sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a year of they go to like find themselves, and it's like they drink alcohol, they do drugs, they party, and it's sort of like this blanket of like get it out of their system. And once they
Wow.
do that, then they then it's like, okay, then they go back to how things were. Some of them defect and they're like, wow, I really love drugs. I'm gonna go be a drug addict and not and leave the community. But I think for the most part, it's just a really good setup for a music video. So these kids, like, they start out in church, and then it's like about a brother and sister, and they go to a Rumspringa. But in my mind, they're not, they don't have access to like traditional drugs, so they like take mushrooms and snort the ashes of their ancestors, and do use what they have at their disposal, probably some moonshine, and then it's like it gets like psychedelic and crazy. And thanks for liking it.
I
um
think, yeah, did you say Mennonites? Mennonites? I
oh,
don't know
Mennonite.
what the term is. Mennonites, yeah. Yeah, I don't, yeah, I've never heard of that before. But Rumspringa, I mean, I feel like a lot of people, at least in Australia, in this city, are very much, I guess the corporate world and the way that we're brought up. Like, I guess they have Rumspringa in the sense of spring break. We don't have spring break, but they have a thing called, what's the equivalent here? It's like, oh, I can't fucking remember. But there's like a thing you do for a weekend. You go to like what we call the Gold Coast, and it's pretty fucking lame. I never did it.
Sure.
But like, yeah,
Yeah,
I feel
spring
like
break. Yeah.
a lot of people probably resonate with that because you don't have to be a Mennonite to feel, oppressed, and repressed. And I think a lot of
Yes.
people are, yeah, repressing their feelings and how they feel, especially online with that kind of digital buffer. So,
Mm,
and it makes me wonder if, like, when you did that video, it won, from what I've read, the audience award, right? For the
hmm.
music video.
Prison Pass. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I wonder if a lot of people felt the way that the Mennonites felt in that video, and that's why it won the audience award.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's universal. I think teenage partying is just a fact of life. It's gonna happen. They're gonna do it. They gotta rebel. The youth have to rebel no matter what in every
Mm.
community. Don't you think?
I mean, yeah, I want them to do that. That's why, like, I play in a punk rock band. That's why I even have this podcast, which is counterculture. I want to inspire people to do what they want to do. And I've seen that there's so much pressure from the government here and from the schooling system and just from parents in making sure that your kid never does that and never.
Really? How
Yeah,
so?
there's no funding for the arts, so you'd never really consider becoming an artist because you know that it's going to lead you into becoming homeless eventually or crazy. You know what I mean? And I always remember doing career interview or career day and saying, "Oh, I want to be a writer," and the teacher going, "I don't know about that." You know what I mean? Maybe you should be a builder. Maybe you should be a lawyer. I think the world has enough of that. There's construction sites all around this city all the time. I don't know how it is in LA, but this city's never finished. They're never satisfied. So I think there's
Yeah.
definitely, there's enough people making food around the city as well. There's every type of food that you could possibly imagine. You can Uber Eats it to your house. You don't even have to talk to people. But in terms of creative art hubs, I could count the amount of them on my hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a real
Yeah.
discrepancy there.
I do think I think if you're an artist, you gotta do it no matter what, even if it's what you do after your day job.
Exactly.
Um, so I do, it is too bad though, for sure. I mean, hopefully it takes someone, if you don't grow up in an environment where, I was lucky, like my parents are both engineers and, not particularly like creative or anything. Sorry. Um, my brother was into computers and I was very artistic, but in my neighborhood, in my like district where I lived, there was an art high school. and I applied to it and I got in, and that really set the course for me,
Mm.
being like encouraged in that way. I think if I hadn't had that, you know, I don't know, it might have just taken me longer to find it or something. But I will also say I'm curious, at least out here, there's a lot of like you ask kids like what they want to be of a certain age, like I think teenagers and stuff maybe, and they all want to be influencers now. So I don't know if there's like enough, yeah, got him. I don't know if there's enough builders and trades people as much as there used to be. When I lived in the out in the country, there's definitely I was pleased to see people like some kids like my kid's 5, and they'd ask the kindergartners like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And out in the country, a lot of them were like, I'm going to be a farmer like my dad. I'm going to be, I'm going to work in insurance like my mom.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a builder or whatever. Like those trade jobs, they have to be around, or else like especially or at least or farmers, like I that worries me. Like the state of farming is what keeps me up at night sometimes.
Oh
But
my God.
like so I hope like, because like, it's countries have crumbled when the farming has fallen apart. So anyway, blah blah blah. What I'm trying to say is I think it's really important for people like you to create hubs, even if they're like podcasts, or even if they're virtual, but then also to have a physical
Mm. Yep.
presence as well. And that's what concerts are. That's what that was for me too growing up. I'd go take a train an hour to a different suburb to go to a punk show
Yeah.
and just be around people like me because I didn't really there weren't people like me at my high school, so I'd like go find that elsewhere. Um, and sometimes you just have to, as long as they're, but those kids weren't like you would just throw shows and stuff. But that was like that took like an entrepreneurial spirit, I think, in terms of like the people throwing. I don't think they had funding, from the government. It's like some people just have to like carry the torch and like do
That's
that.
that's exactly right. That's exactly what we do. Like we put on
Yeah,
shows to, I mean, around like 350 people at the moment with my band.
that's
And
amazing. It's
like,
so important.
and it is, and that kind of number, we have no funding from the government. We have no grant support. We've got no, billionaire investment
Yeah.
deal, but
Yeah,
we
but
just do it because we need it. Because without that opportunity, because we have a rule, and I think a lot of some bands share it, some bands don't. Lately, they don't. But like, my stage is your stage. Like, if you want to get up on my stage and you want to fucking say whatever, fucked up shit happened to you during the week, do it. No one's stopping you. We invite as many people on stage as off stage. We'll get 100 people on, 200 people off, because it's not about the band. It's about the experience. It's about the community service. It's literal community service.
yeah, I agree. I think that's so great. And I'll tell you, like in Canada, there is funding for the arts, but I've also seen, uh, I've seen, uh, cultural things like a magazine that's totally funded by the government, and then they take that grant away, and then suddenly so they don't do it anymore because they rely
Yeah.
on that funding. You got to build it yourself. Like you got to just figure it out yourself. I gotta
That's
say.
a really good point that you made. I applied for funding for this podcast recently, and I thought, because it's an animated arts and sociology podcast that bridges literally, like, sometimes we have more co-hosts than just me, but
Yeah,
it bridges the gap between Australia and other parts of the world. I thought it literally ticked all the boxes. And then the other
yeah,
day I was lying in bed and it's like, nope, you didn't get it. No explanation. You don't get it. And I was really bummed out. I was like, fuck, man, I don't even want to apply for any more. And I was speaking about it
yeah.
with my friend, and what you just said came up. The idea that, like, yeah, like, what if you started it and you get it to a certain point, but you can't continue it? And sometimes, yeah, being able to just consistently do it, even if it's on a lower budget, is more powerful than getting a big, sum of money at the start and then being like, how the fuck do I run this? You know?
Totally. I also think you need to keep applying for those things because sometimes they don't think you take it seriously unless you keep, like, you actually, consistency is a huge part of success in
Yeah,
general. You should
for
keep
sure,
applying.
actually.
You should keep applying. It's annoying to do, but I tell myself too, I'm like, I should be applying for stuff
It's
and
such a blow though when you don't
I
get it.
still do. Yeah, yeah. I don't get stuff. I got rejected for something 2 weeks ago, but it's like rejection is protection. Haven't you heard that before?
No, please elaborate.
Yeah, well, it's like, sometimes, like, say you apply for a job, or in my case, I when I make commercials, I have to pitch against two other directors to win the commercial, and I don't get it, I'm rejected. But then it's like, okay, well, you got to flip it because it's
Yeah,
like, okay, well, actually that was a really shitty job and it would have like really sucked to do it.
yeah,
Or like
yeah,
maybe this grant was actually not aligned with what you're doing, and then you would have become there, you would have had this master, that's like telling you what to do on your podcast or something, like
yeah. You're
it's
right.
that the universe is protecting you from that thing you thought you needed but you don't actually need.
I mean, going back to the fortune cookie thing you said before, I do believe that we're all going down a particular path. I'm a spiritual person too, and I've found that every time that something hasn't worked out for me, it's always been for the best in the long run. If you can kind of see it with enough of a, objective view.
Yes, get used to being rejected. It's the most free thing ever.
You have to, yeah,
Yeah.
normalize rejection in every aspect, not just in creativity, just in life. It definitely makes life a lot easier and more fulfilling to live as well.
Have you heard the rule, the like 10% rule? There's like you need to apply to like 10 things before you get one.
Yeah, yeah. I use that rule with slightly different mathematics for super fans from a band. You can play a show to like 300 people and 10 to 12 of them will become super fans. You know what I
Great.
mean? And so the more
Yeah,
you do
that's
that,
perfect.
it's
Yeah.
it's the same with friends. Like you have to meet so many fucking people to actually know who's right for you. If you get attached to the first group you get at a high school, or even you meet some alternative people 5 years down the line, you don't have any alternatives. Once that blows up, you'll have no one. You have to keep going. You have to keep the doors of life open to meet new people all the time. And that applies to keeping industries, creative local hubs open as well, right? Because you get comfortable with your crew. Eventually, you get bored. You want something else. You want some spice. You can't do that with the same people all the time,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Um,
Yeah.
I really want to talk to you before we go because I had a lot of things. But I also have to go sell jeans in like 20 minutes.
Well, like on the street.
No, no, I started working at Noel Gallagher is a big fan of them, and he came into the store the other day, and they didn't have the jeans he wanted. So he was, I mean, he was probably already in a bad mood, but it probably made it
Damn.
worse. Um,
Oh man, what a
but yeah,
failure.
saying no to Noel Gallagher as well, like fuck that.
Oh,
I wasn't working that day though.
okay.
But I really enjoyed your movie Small Fry, and
Mhm.
the first thing I noticed off of that was that I always think they're an Australian band, but they're fucking not. Dire Straits. What is the significance of that song to you?
Dire Straits just reminds me of my dad,
Yeah,
it was like that record was huge for my parents' generation, and Mark Knopfler is just like he was like just a hero for dads. He's just like, I don't know, like dad. And when I say dads, I'm 40 and my dad was born in the 50s. He's no longer with us, but he would just like rock out to Dire Straits. So um I think that song was used just because it cemented that character in his era, what his era of music was, I think,
yeah.
too. And that song just rocks.
It's such an Aussie sounding song. They are the
That's
most
so interesting.
Aussie,
Yeah.
non-Aussie band. Obviously, we've got Men at Work. We've got fucking what are they called? hunters and collectors, and I guess you can go in excess and all that kind of stuff. You know, we got Nick Cave, we got all that, but all of them
Yeah.
sound really Aussie, and they are Aussie. Whereas Dire Straits is the one band where I just can't believe that. Yeah, they're British. Yeah, but
What
they
makes
played a lot here, I guess.
them sound Aussie to you?
I think it's that like again, dad rock, but it's not my dad. Like it's not my dad's rock. My dad's Argentinian, so he
Oh, right,
introduced
yeah.
me to a lot of like old school prog rock, like actual like classical rock kind of stuff, like Charlie Garcia and Cerati and all that. But he also was big into the Beatles and you know and folk and that kind of stuff. There's some like UK influence and stuff, but there's a guy called Jimmy Barnes who you might be familiar with if you know the band Cold Chisel. Do you guys know about that shit over there?
I don't know. You have to ask. Hey,
It's just
Seb.
does he know
Yeah,
about Cold Chisel?
what are they called?
Cold Chisel.
Cold Chisholm?
Cold Chisel.
Oh, Cold Chisel. No, what is that?
Cold Chisel is like an Aussie band. Hey man, huge fan.
Wait. Hang on. Do you think Dire Straits sound Australian band?
No,
Well, there you go.
they sound like a British band.
Yeah, I don't
He's
know how
also
I'd
you're
explain
half
it, but
British. You're
yeah, I mean, yeah, I person. Well, then I can't say anything to that. He's already
no,
he's proved me
no,
wrong.
it's okay. No, he didn't prove you wrong. He told you his opinion. You can have your opinion,
True, true, true.
and I can't.
I
They're
remember
Yeah,
very
I
seeing them on
mean,
the Prince Trust concert, like the Prince's Trust. I remember seeing them play like with the royal family when I was a kid, like on TV.
really? Okay, that probably
But like
makes him pretty British. Yeah.
very Brit. And I'm like, do you know where my jacket
um. Hang on, Jack.
is?
What Jack?
Maybe it's the car.
Oh yeah. I hope.
I gotta go.
Okay. Bye.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you too, man.
Um.
Wow.
But yeah, like I thought it was cool that you had that song in because immediately I was like, I mean, that song, I didn't even know that people in like America or Canada would even know about Dire Straits. You know what I mean? Like there's no way for us to even know what you guys think
Yeah.
of us
No,
and of
that's
the UK, you
crazy.
know?
Yeah, that's really interesting. But the funny thing is, I also don't associate weirdly. Like the other day, we heard, I think Dire Straits are like Knopfler solo on the radio, and there was some. And then I was like, Is he British? Like, is he really British?" And so I was like, "Yes, of course." And I was like, to me, he's kind of in my mind, American. Like it's weird. And I'm Canadian. I don't even like, it's not like I'm saying he's from my country,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
there's something, there's so, maybe it's because of that song, like the MTV part of it, or I don't know, like, or how I absorbed it through culture when I was a kid. And then
Yeah.
the singing association, I don't know, like, I don't know why, but they're in my mind, they're an American band
Well, when
my
he says
body.
the MTV line is kind of when I started to doubt whether or not I had to Google it basically because an Aussie band wouldn't have said MTV. There wouldn't really have
Right.
been relevance to that. You'd never
But then
catch.
he's like making fun of it. Like the whole song is tongue in cheek that he's like making fun of a character. He's playing a character. He's making fun of that kind of person. So
To
it's
me,
like,
that line turns it into more of a Springsteen kind of
mm,
anecdote or something like that, which is incredible. I mean, which is the most American that you
yeah,
can get.
yeah. So it's
You know,
really interesting. I love him though. He's so, but I think we can agree though that they're just really, really unique, and there's no
yeah.
one else like Mark Knopfler, and maybe that's why it's hard to place him.
For sure. I
Yeah.
really enjoy like that the video that you made. And I like that it starts off feeling like a music video, but then what you get after it is like the aftermath, you know? It's like the ugly side, behind the scenes of what the video is after you stop filming. I thought that was great. Um, I also think that there should be more public service announcements on choking.
Ah, yes. Well, I gave my mom the Heimlich maneuver in the car because she choked when we were on vacation, and that actually happened. And it
Right.
was like I learned the Heimlich maneuver, and then I forgot. But when you once you learn it, or once you see it on Mrs. Doubtfire or whatever, you do it and it works. Like it's incredible. It saves lives.
I need to learn it. I definitely always
Watch
I eat
Mrs.
food very
Doubtfire.
quickly, and I'm like always going like, how have I not choked to death? And there's a few times where I feel like I nearly have choked to death, and it's such a minor thing. Like it can happen anywhere. With and for me, like I'm
Yeah.
always just
Oh
like,
yeah.
it's like when I get stuck in an elevator, I have that moment of like high anxiety where I just go, if I can just get out of this elevator alive, I will never
Yeah.
complain about anything ever again. And
Oh
it's the
my
same
God.
with choking. Every time it's happened, and I'm always like,
I
I gotta tell people about this. No one's talking about choking.
Yeah, I agree. Choking's super scary. I think I would try to Heimlich. My plan in my head is to find a chair and like fall on it, basically on my stomach.
True. That's that's definitely
If you
one
want to
way.
know, if you have to do the Heimlich maneuver, you put your if you can you're supposed to find the belly button and
Yeah,
then fist, hand and fist, and then you go up diagonally towards the like sternum,
yeah.
and you just go behind the person, you just go like that, and then whatever it is will come out.
What
It's
we should do
easy.
is I should animate this segment and then we'll sell
Yes.
it to, a bunch of companies so we can spread the word.
Great. Great. I don't want to sell it. Fuck that.
No, give it to them for free.
Give it to them for free, like Craigslist.
Yeah,
And you
they've
guys
already
have
paid for the
Craigslist?
food, so they might as well get yeah.
Yeah. Do you have Craigslist in Australia?
I think we
Do you know
have
what that
it,
is?
but we don't use it. I don't know. It used to be a thing here. I think we use Marketplace, Facebook
Same.
Marketplace. Same
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, we do too. We still have Craigslist. It's just like kind of sketchier, but you could still find cool stuff on there because not as many people are looking, I think.
Yeah. I wanted to also talk to you about the Jack Links ad that you did
Mm.
with the
Yeah.
Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Because that to me felt like an environmental statement of sorts within like the framework of something else. Like, did you get a lot of creative control to be able to like kind of put an environmental kind of angle into it,
No,
Jack Links? No?
no. With commercials, the director never write like I don't maybe there's an exception. The director doesn't write the commercial.
Yeah, yeah.
Agency writes the commercial and then I execute it. The idea, the angle is that the Sasquatch is the environmentalist because he's from nature. So
Yeah.
it just it doesn't make sense for actually no, they were trying to get him back to nature because the like company or whatever, they're like, this Sasquatch series of commercials is like, I don't know, very iconic, at least here.
Yeah.
Like dudes text it to each other, like share it with each other. I know that is true. And so when it came my way, I was like kind of honored to even be a part of it.
Yeah.
So, but it was like Sasquatch had lost his way, and he's like, it wasn't classic anymore. So in this particular these like two spots I did, they were trying to bring it back to nature and bring him back to nature. And like the original like concept is that these people are fucking with Sasquatch, and one could interpret that they're fucking with like Mother Nature, itself. So I'd say there is like an inherent like, environmentalist angle to these commercials that are for beef jerky.
Yeah. Well,
It's kind of
that's what I
fucked.
wanted to basically know is like the things. I mean, we don't have Jack Links here. We've got other beef jerky brands. I don't eat beef jerky. It's really expensive at the service station.
Yeah,
But yeah, like I saw that, I was like, I
it'd
wonder
be
if
expensive.
yeah, I was like, I
No?
wonder if they were able to kind of take this spin within this other message, and make it your own. But you're right, though. It's a humongous company. It would be very difficult for them to just give you that amount of creative control, right?
It's just not how it's done. It's just not how it's done.
Yeah,
Yeah, how the commercial system works. There's too many like, I can add creative touches or like push it into a certain direction, but it'll always be within the frame, the framework of the brief that the agency made to the client. It's very boring stuff. But
For
yeah.
sure. That's cool
Yeah.
though.
I like that.
Lastly, actually two more things. One of them, did you meet Johnny Rodden and give him a cigarette? Is that a thing that
Yeah, I did. I did. I had a party for my magazine at TIFF. We had I used to do a magazine called Bad Day, and we had this party during the Toronto International Film Festival. And we had, yeah, we had a bunch of random kind of celebrities show up to the party because during the film festival, there's a lot of celebrities in town. And we also threw really, really kind of legendary, great parties. And this is what I've been told by people. It's not just my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, but at this particular party, I noticed that Johnny Rotten was there, and I think what happened. I went up to a friend of mine went up to him and like hit on him or something, and he told her to fuck off. And
Wow.
then I went up to him and I said something like, you are my, or I list, something like you're important to me, important part of my teenage, whatever. And he was like, I'm not your teenage icon. And then I was like, oh man. But then my friend Travis had a cigarette. And then, oh no, he was like, he said that to me, but he's still being nice to me. And then he was like, can I smoke on the dance floor? And I was like, sure, who's going to say no to you? And then my friend Travis had a cigarette and I lit him a cigarette and gave it to him. Or I put it in his mouth and lit it. I don't know. But it was one of those things that I'm so glad someone took a picture of because, and I'm so glad you saw it wherever you saw it. It's a high point of my life for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that there's a lot to, obviously, we can't go into it for much longer, but there's a lot to dissect in that story. I think the very notion that he asked for permission to light a cigarette indoors is hilarious. He's Johnny, like, fucking Rodden. Like, there's no.
I don't know if I don't even know if it goes as far as asking for permission. I think it was more like a warning, like I'm about to smoke on,
Okay, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, you're
whether
right.
you want me to or not kind of thing.
He's always
Or
one step ahead. I love
yeah,
him.
yeah,
He's a big inspiration for me. I'm not huge into Sex Pistols, but I love him and I love Public Image. For me,
same.
like I think yeah, some of those recordings, the Japanese like live recordings are incredible. And yeah, I think he's just like a really cool person, and I do love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, he's always able to piss people off, no matter how old he is, consistently.
You know what? He's not a phony baloney, and
No, it's not.
he's a true artist, and he should be respected as such.
I agree. Absolutely. Finally, thank you for chatting to me for the last hour. So, do you have any piece of advice for up and coming creatives?
My advice to up and coming creatives, I think I would say if you're an artist, you have to hone your instincts and listen to the voice inside you, the quiet voice inside you, as
Yeah.
much as you can. And sometimes it's really hard to do. But when you don't listen to it, you're gonna get burned. That's all I'm gonna say. And get
Yeah.
really good at saying, get used to saying when you're ready, you gotta get comfortable saying no to things. And then that's when like things really start opening up for you, I think.
Yeah, I think there's this whole like, I mean, the idea of like, the Jim Carrey movie, like, yes, man. Like, you say yes to every opportunity. I mean, it's good up until a certain point. And then curating is like really important. And listening to your gut is really important. I can't tell you the amount of times I've recorded, even now, like recording vocals and everyone's saying, it's great, it's amazing. And you're like, I don't know if I'm being a diva, but I actually don't think it's great. And you don't know if you're doing it for the right reason, if it's your insecurities or if it's your artistic judgment. But it is really important to take some time and think about that, Hard.
Yeah, but also sometimes you can't hear the voice if you don't have a way to quiet yourself.
Yep.
So like find a way, get a practice of like grounding yourself, whether that's, meditating, walking, sitting on the grass. Like
Yeah.
that's what I would say. It's like that's the only way you can like the best advice is be yourself. But like how do you get there? You have to listen to yourself. And how do you get there? You have to let things be quiet enough so that you can hear. And sometimes that just means like being in nature or just sitting quietly. Those are
Disconnecting
really
away
hard things to
from the
do
noise.
today.
It's really hard. It's probably the hardest thing currently, because you're constantly, people have to be online. We have to push things. We have to talk to people. There's a lot at stake. But I mean, even
You
here,
gotta
the
sell
sun.
jeans.
Yeah, gotta sell jeans, or sometimes not. If it's no,
Yeah.
and like it's hard here because like we have some really like beautiful nature places, but it's all quite urban and the sun doesn't really shine. So it is hard to kind of have a prolonged period of just like nature and detox because it's not just one day. Like you need time, or at least you need enough of those days in between. And I think in the 9 to 5, 5 day work week, it can be very difficult for people to do that, even look after themselves to begin with and create art on top of that.
Well, I'd also recommend TM, check out David Lynch, listen to
Oh yeah, for
his
sure.
audiobook. The audiobook of his biography is really great because he talks after every chapter. But Jerry Seinfeld also started meditating in the 70s, TM. I'd really recommend it. It's like that's one way where you can ground yourself in any environment that you're in,
For
So
sure, yeah. No, that's a great
yeah.
point. I've seen his podcast, David Lynch's podcast on it. And it's so like interesting to me because he picks these guests and they might think that they're there to talk about something else. Some of them know they're going to talk about TM, but if they're there to do anything else, they can plug anything or whatever. It's like shut the fuck up. We're here to talk about TM with David
Yeah.
Lynch,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
sick.
So, and I didn't mean to plug it, but it's like it's a helpful tool, I would say.
For sure. Absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely be doing some TM at work today.
Oh yeah, do it. Tell your boss,
Awesome.
listen, I gotta go for 20 minutes, paid, and sit in a room. Yeah.
He'll understand.
Yeah, he will, I'm sure.
Thank you, Eva, so much
Um,
for today.
no problem.